situation. Say, okay, what is the real?
How's everyone doing today? Ready to do some real estate? Getting ready to prospect? All right, welcome everybody to some sales concept training. Today we're going to go over a new way of selling, basically selling in reverse. I love this concept because it actually helps us ask the right questions that will actually get the client to basically sell themselves. So the word salesperson, when you think of the word salesperson, what comes to mind? Unmute yourselves and let me know. What comes to mind when you think of the word salesperson?
Someone who's going to offer you some goods or a service for a fee.
Okay. What else? Does it have a good feeling around it, or does it feel like you're going to get sold? Is there a negative or a positive connotation to the general population about the word salesperson?
I would definitely say negative.
Negative, right? So we got to get around that. Okay, you guys are all salespeople. We have to get around this stigma. We have to get around this wall that salespeople are grimy. And the reason why people think that salespeople are grimy is because salespeople usually have whose best interest in mind? Is it usually been the clients, or is it usually because they want to make the sale?
Because they want to make the sale.
Right. And that's what we have to get around. So the new way of selling is not a process of telling the prospect what to do. It's a process of understanding. And how do we understand? We have to ask the right questions so that the prospect will end up selling themselves and be like, okay, I do need your services. So we got to tell them, how much we care. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. And if you haven't, now you have. You can't just go in there and like purge your knowledge and say, I do this, I do that. Look at my marketing. I'm so great. Hire me. Okay. They'll be like, oh, okay, whatever. Next. You got to find out what their problem is. You got to ask the right questions, get to the pain point that they're having. What is the problem that they're having? Is it a probate sale? Is it, they're having problems, maybe they're getting divorced. Do they need a resolution for that? So you got to really get in there and find out what their pain point is and serve your clients first and sell them the solution to the problem. People will pay to get their problem solved. Okay. And I pay to get Instacart. My problem is going to the grocery store takes too long and I'm hungry. So Instacart, bring me food, or Postmates or whatever. These are all solutions to a problem. Okay, so we have to sell the solution to the problem, and we must serve our clients first. You need to find out what their real goal is, and then we sell to that pain point. So I'm going to go over some sales concepts here. This is my new version of my binder that I've been making for you guys. It's basically my binder, my success binder has always been just kind of a workbook. And so I've really kind of put it all into words so that I don't have to continue to sit down with you guys. You guys can just, reread this and then ask me questions as we go through. So the first thing I want to go over is reflexive objections. So this is kind of a concept where I'm sure you guys have ever walked into a department store and the person comes up to you and they're like, hey, can I help you find anything? And you're like, no, I'm just looking. Well, you didn't get into the car and drive all the way to that specific store to just look. Maybe if you're just walking around downtown Summerlin and just looking, but you did go to downtown Summerlin for something, whether it was food, whether it was to pick up something from a store. Well, maybe you're walking around that store and you're like, crap, I can't find that sweater I saw online. I wanted to try it on. So then you have to go back to the sales associate and actually ask, hey, where is this item? Okay, it's happened to all of us. I'm sure you can relate to this situation. That reflex of no, thank you. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, so we got to get around that. So in order to get around that, I have a method which I call the AAA method or the AAA method. And step 1 is agree with them. Step 2 is to acknowledge their response. And step 3 is to ask some hypothetical questions. So in order to effectively use a pattern interrupt, and a pattern interrupt is when somebody doesn't expect the conversation to go that way. So basically, if somebody is trying to sell you something and then they agree with you that you don't need it, you're like, wait, what? It interrupts that pattern of salespeople in your mind. And then you actually start listening. You lean in and you're like, what do you mean you agree? I don't need that. Okay, so agree with them. Say it makes sense. Absolutely. I completely understand. I totally get it. I would feel that way too. I totally respect that. Those are all things that will interrupt that pattern, okay? And we want to alter their mental, emotional, or behavioral state so that they actually do lean in and listen to what you have to say. Next is you acknowledge their response. Remember, the prospect does not trust a salesperson because the typical salesperson is just trying to make a sale for their own best interest. You can use a pattern interrupt here by showing that you genuinely care and have their best interest at heart. For example, when calling expired listings, you may get a seller who says, I'm no longer interested in working with an agent. I'm going to sell it on my own. You can follow that up with a response of like, I totally respect that. If I were you, I would feel the same way. The way this market is going, you probably don't even need an agent. Wait, what? You just agreed with that prospect that they may not need an agent. Okay, so this is a pattern interrupt that will catch the lead off guard and allow you to move on in the conversation and move on to step 3, which is ask hypothetical questions. So hypothetical questions are a pattern interrupt because they are not a threat. Which sounds less salesy to you? When you list with me, or if you were to list with me? One of them gives the prospect an illusion of control. Okay, so they're getting to decide whether or not they list with me. So they'll lean in and they'll listen. Okay, can I use their services? Do I feel like this person will work well with me? Do I like their ideas? Okay, for example, when calling expired listings, after you agree with them and acknowledge their frustrations, you would ask, so if your home had sold for the price you wanted, where were you going to move to? That's a hypothetical question. If their home has sold. Okay, so it drops their guard and it allows them to continue the conversation with you. And you can also say, if I did have a buyer that was willing to make an offer that financially made sense to you, would you be totally against taking a look at that offer so that you can move to Washington by Tuesday? You know, you're putting their pain point is they need to move to Washington by Tuesday. Okay, you're putting that into a hypothetical question and you're getting them dreaming about what it would be like if their problem was solved. They wouldn't be totally against looking at an offer if it financially made sense to them and they could get their problem solved in the time frame that they need. So you're giving them the illusion of control and you're allowing them to lean in and answer some questions. This concept really works because answering hypothetical questions is non-threatening. Okay, it doesn't really matter whether they answer or not because it's not reality. So they feel less threatened and they actually open up and have that conversation with you. And that's what asking the right questions can do. It can open up this prospect to actually letting them, tell you what they need. And then, of course, you sell to the pain point. Okay, so here's a little fun script that I put in here. Oh, it's kind of a long one. So if you're cold calling expireds, obviously you might not be the first person unless your early bird gets the worm. So the seller might answer and be frustrated and say, you're the 28th agent to call today. I'm so annoyed with all these agents calling. Me, I take a very lighthearted approach to all of my cold calls, and I embrace the fact that people are going to be angry with me. And I kind of just laugh it off and I break through that. So I say jokingly, I'm the 28th caller. What do I win? All jokes aside, I see your home has popped off the market because it didn't sell. I'm sorry to see, I didn't see it sooner, but I have buyers looking for a home just like yours. A home just like yours. Don't say area, don't say neighborhood. You want to say a home just like yours. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Now, when you ask a prospect, can I ask you questions? It's one of those things that's like a universal yes. Okay, most of the time people are going to say yes, and when they give you their permission for you to ask questions, then it's on them. Okay, they're giving you permission, so then you go right into your scripts and you start asking questions. You say, I'm sure, but I'm not interested in relisting my home with an agent. I already tried that and the agent didn't do their job. I'm just going to list it myself for sale by owner. Now, this is where you get the little bit of pain point from the seller is their agent didn't do a job that they felt their agent should do. So you say something along the lines of, I'm sorry to hear that you feel your agent failed you. Okay. Try to never put down another agent. It's not a good look. You don't say, oh, that agent was so bad or anything. You just say, I feel for you. I can put myself in your shoes. And you can even take it a step further and say something that makes you actually relate to the client and build that rapport. So you can say, I'm sorry to hear your agent failed you. I've actually been in your shoes before, a long time ago. Before I was an agent, I listed a home for sale and it expired. That's when I decided to become an agent myself and help people just like you. What do you feel your agent should have done differently that would have caused it to actually sell? And when you ask that question, this is my golden question, especially with expireds or a prospect who has their home listed prior with another agent, and then they took it off the market to list it with me or look for other agents. They're going to tell me exactly what they are looking for in an agent and their pain points and the solutions that they want to see in order to solve their problem. So they will tell me exactly how they want me to sell them. And then I just use that to tell them I do that and then do that for them. Okay. The seller could say something like they would have held more open houses, got professional photos done, had advertising campaigns going. And I can say something like, I agree. Those are actually just the basic things that I, as a professional, feel are the bare necessities of listing a property for sale. If your home did sell, so here's the hypothetical question. If your home did sell, where were you going to move to? Okay, and this is where we find out the motivation. Where is the seller going to go? I'm going to use this down the line to actually help them commit to signing a contract with me. So like I said, if they need to move to Washington by Tuesday, I will later then put that into my script and say, okay, well, if we did get an offer that financially made sense, came a little bit under your bottom line, but still got you to Washington by Tuesday, would you be willing to take a look at that offer? Yes. Universal yes. This prospect is saying, I was planning on moving to Florida to be closer to my new granddaughter. Then here, you can kind of roll the conversation into building more rapport, ask questions about the grandbaby, and continue to let the conversation flow. You want to ask open-ended questions, okay? We don't want yes/no questions because that only lets the prospect say yes or no. We want to ask questions that allow them to open up and say more information to us so that we can use it in our sales pitch later in the conversation. So after that, so Mr. Seller, if you were to get an offer from a buyer and it financially made sense to you, would you be totally against cooperating with an agent to get this done so you can be living near your grandbaby within 60 days? All right, so have you guys ever heard any scripts like this or heard of these sales concepts before? Go ahead and jump into the conversation if you have or want to add or ask questions about this. Please just unmute yourselves. No?
I do have a question. So we're asking them twice, like in the conversation, where they plan on moving to.
No, you can ask them once, you can ask them twice. You can ask them until you get an answer.
Okay, because earlier when you were reading it, I think it had asked them about where they were moving to, and then I see it asked them at that bottom
I think
part.
I was just talking about it.
Okay.
It doesn't have it in here twice.
Okay.
All right, so the next sales concept is small yeses lead to closings. This is really where I get all of my I use this concept in all of my listing appointments, okay? When you get somebody to agree to you incrementally saying yes the entire time you're presenting your listing presentation, it's hard for them to come to the end of the conversation and be like, wait, no, this doesn't make sense. Okay, so small yeses lead to closings. In this sales concept, we explore how gaining agreement with the buyer or seller through a series of small questions that they answer yes to can lead to a big yes, which is closing them on the decision to buy or sell using your services. Rather than using high pressure sales tactics, you can gain their agreement along the way with small questions to make sure they're on the same page as you. Like I said, this is my favorite concept. And some of the small questions that I ask throughout my listing presentations are, does that make sense? Is this fair? Would you agree? Are you following? Do you see how blank? Does that sound reasonable? Are we on the same page? Do you understand the importance of blank? So if at any point during the presentation, the seller doesn't agree with me, I pause and I use the AAA method. I agree, I acknowledge, and then I ask more hypothetical questions that address their concerns until I get to the yes before moving on. So if they don't understand something about a CMA presentation or something and they say, no, I think my home is worth more, then I say, okay, well, let's look at this home. It has X, Y, and Z, and it has a pool in the back, and they're listed at the price that you want to list it at. Now, knowing what appraisers value pools at in this neighborhood, it does add about $35,000 to $40,000 in value to a home to have a pool in the backyard. So if we need to look at the home through an appraiser's point of view and a buyer's point of view, you can see why both of those points of view are important, right? Yes, I can. And if they don't know, then you can tell them, then you can go into, yeah, the appraiser's point of view is important because the bank won't lend more than that on the house. And the buyer's point of view is important because they're going to be comparing your house at $350,000 to the house with the pool at $350,000. Okay, so if they want to spend $40,000 less, they go to your house. They want to spend $40,000 more, they go to that house. But you can't put them on the same table and compare. Does that make sense? Then they say yes, then you move on. So that is the series of incremental yeses that I like to get in my CMA presentations. And when done properly, you can actually manage their expectations. And another thing to get happy clients at the very end of all of your deals is to manage their expectations. If you go in there to a seller and say, yeah, I can sell your house at $350,000, even though another one has a pool right down the road, and yes, I can do this, and yes, I can do that, you are going to get a seller who's expecting A, and they're going to get Y. And they're not going to be happy at the end. They're not going to be happy when they see nobody's viewing their property. They're not going to be happy when they don't see the offers coming in. And who are they going to blame it on? They're going to blame it on you. Okay, so properly managing expectations is super important to get happy clients. Okay, then I just go into hypothetical questions in here. But another thing I want to talk to you guys about is the illusion of control. Okay, we want to make the prospects feel like it is their choice in the end. We don't want to feel too salesy. We don't want to just tell people what to do and purge all of our information, okay? So the way that a little script that I wrote down that you could do this with is you could say, hey, Mr. Prospect, why don't we do this? Let's not make any decisions today. So you're giving the control to them. Why don't we simply get together, have a conversation about, and then you cite their problem because you've been having, you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody. So let's simply get together, have a conversation about you selling your mother's house. I'll explain exactly how my processes work. And at the end of the conversation, you can decide whether right now is the right time for you or not. Okay? So at the very least, you'll walk away with some ideas that you can implement on your own. Does that sound like something you're willing to entertain? Just a conversation. And people like that because you give it the choice to them. You give them the control, okay? You show them that you don't give a crap whether they use your services or not. I don't need you. I don't need to make the sale. I don't have commission breath. Okay, it's gonna be your choice. And if you like these concepts and you give them the control. If you like these concepts, you can hire me and I will help you solve your problem, but it's entirely up to you. Like I said, people pay for their problems to be solved. And this is how you just get your foot in the door. You get that face-to-face meeting and you get to build some rapport with them, okay? So with that one, you would also need to find out what their goal is first. Still writing some of these. Let them think they're in control. So let me ask you this. What have you guys been doing this week, and how have you been having any problems talking to some of your prospects? Does anybody have any problems communicating with their leads or anything, any hiccups that I can help walk you guys through? Come on, guys, let's get involved.
Yes. Remember we sent that text to my client. It's a divorced couple. The husband, he usually responds right away, but it's been like 2 weeks now and I'm still waiting to hear back from her.
You haven't heard from them at all?
Yeah, about, reducing the price and also the offering the incentives to the buyer as far as, closing costs and rate buy down. And so she said she was gonna think about it and let me know. And yeah, it's been like 2 weeks now. So I guess maybe I should
How
just
many
keep
times
following
have
up.
you contacted them?
Like since then, like 3 times, because I try not to like bug them and pester them because I know the husband still lives in the house. So I don't really try to pester them too much, but I'm like, okay, when is the point where it's like, okay, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I get it. So, I mean, you can offer them, you can say, hey, do you want to relist it? Do you want to reset days on market? But the key here is you want to be the one communicating with them. You never want the seller to come to you and be like, hey, what's going on with this? So as long as you make sure that you are regularly communicating with them, I would start hitting them up every other day or every 2 days and just say, hey, just want to hear from you and touch base. Don't pressure them to lower the price. Don't talk to them about anything. Just say, hey, just want to hear from you and make sure you're okay.
Okay.
You just want to get that conversation started, because if you haven't heard from them at all, if I hadn't heard it from my client at all in 2 weeks and I had been messaging them and they haven't had a single peep of a response, answered my phone calls, emails, or text messages, I would start to wonder if they're alive.
Right. And like she'll text like one little text like, hey, thinking about it, I'll let you know, and then won't hear from her again. So you're right. I'll start following up every 2 days at least so we can get something moving with this thing.
Yeah.
And also I have a buyer who when
another thing before that, maybe try taking
Yeah.
one of them to lunch just to build that rapport. Just get that conversation started.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart. And I know her personally because I used to shop at her clothing store, so I met her that way. But
Take her to lunch. Just say,
I'll ask
hey,
her.
I'm out in your area this day. Do you have time to go to lunch, or can I bring you lunch at work, or do you want to grab a coffee?
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my other thing that I had this buyer back when the market was crazy and everyone was offering 30,000-40,000 over asking price. She said she was gonna wait till the market slowed down. And her husband was saying, everything's gonna crash. And okay, now we're in that space. Now we're, prices are lowering. And I text her, I send her holiday text and just text her randomly to, see if she's still interested in buying. And I see that like through the MLS matrix, you can see when they're looking.
Yeah.
Because I still send her homes. And so I see she's still looking, but she's not responding either. I'm like, why is everyone ignoring me?
So this is where I like to use a little tactic of like hooks. So something that's really going to hook them in. This can either be personal or general. You can say something like, hey, I just want to let you know, I am regularly getting the seller to cover all of the closing costs of my buyers at this point in time. Is this something that you would be willing to, have a conversation about, or does this interest you? Is this something that you would want? Are you interested in getting into a house with no closing costs? You can let them know how much the market has come down and that we're in that weird period of time where it's still it's a buyer's market, but we don't know where we're going to go right now. So is the market going to go back up? We don't know, but sellers are willing to play ball and actually give a lot to the buyers right now. So it's in your best interest. Are they pre-approved?
They were pre-approved then, but that was a while ago. So they probably have to redo it again, but they were pre-approved.
Say, when are you interested in getting your pre-approval revived and actually starting to look at the market, or just take them to go see a house? Do they put any hearts on them?
No,
Okay.
no, but I do like what you said about, letting them know, like, hey, I'm noticing a lot of, sellers are, offering to pay, full closing costs. And,
You should say that you are regularly negotiating closing costs into your buyer's contracts.
I'm regularly negotiating closing costs into my buyer's contracts.
There you go.
Okay.
Is this something that sounds, attractive to you? Is this something that you're interested in learning more about? Or do you want to know how I do it? Do you want to know if I can do the same for you? Open up that conversation, or just say, hey, or do you know what kind of house that they like?
They were looking for, yes, she had her wishes. She wanted a downstairs office close to the kitchen. She wanted a downstairs master bathroom since they're getting older. At least 4 bedrooms, 3-car garage, pool. And then their budget was 900K, but then since the market was going crazy, they got it moved up to 1.2, but now it'll probably go back down again.
Okay, so find them that house and just continue to text them about it. Say, hey, let's go look. Just take them there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all this good information.
Yeah, it's the hook, it's the bait, just to open up that conversation.
Will do.
All right, anybody else? Tell me about some conversations or problems or anything you've been having with buyers, sellers lately. I can help you work through it, just like I did with Jessica. Anybody else have any experiences from this past week or even beyond? And you guys should all be contacting all those buyers who didn't have the money to pay over appraised value last year. Okay, this is a different market. You can say, hey, I know you don't need 40,000 over anymore. You actually need way less. I can get you your closing costs covered by the seller. Does anybody else have any questions, or are we going to go to what are we doing today to work on real estate? All right, Sierra, what are you doing today to move the needle?
So honestly today, I don't have anything like set in stone planned yet. I'm currently at work right now. So I am gonna try to figure out something to do. That way I'm not wasting my day. But so far I don't have anything lined up, unfortunately.
All right, well, you showed up. You showed up today. You listened in to the Zoom. That is moving the needle a little bit, learning how to talk to clients and learning how to talk to prospects. So good on you being at work and listening to this.
Thanks.
All right, Rashida, what's going on? What are you doing today to further your real estate business and move the needle?
I've been sending out an email to for sale by owner contacts with just introducing myself with just kind of like a copy paste message that I sent to everybody. And I did get 2 responses. I'm also showing a rental property a little later, and I'm working with another agent and have something in escrow right now.
Okay, perfect. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you. But I wanted to ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
So the leads that I get from the title company, they don't have the phone number, so I can do like cold calling. So I pretty much cold call like all the leads that I accumulated for myself.
What leads are you asking for from the title company?
like the expired leads, it doesn't have the phone number, so I can like cold call. So I don't know when you guys cold call for 4 hours, like where are you getting all the numbers to cold call people? Because I'm having a hard time.
So cold calling, you can get phone numbers from like Circle Prospecting. You can ask the title company for phone numbers so take a listing and ask the title company, can you give me the phone numbers of all the homes within a mile that have 40% equity or more, and they have lived in the house for 7 years or longer. Those are going to be a targeted cold calling list, and they are more likely to sell than just anybody. So when you target it like that, it actually really helps. So that, or there's like Vulcan 7, the Red X, Mojo Dialer. Those services are all pretty good for getting phone numbers, but unfortunately, expireds are a bit harder because in order to get an expired phone number, they actually have to like match the expired listings to the actual data pool. And some title companies don't go the extra mile to do that. So I do recommend Vulcan 7, Red X, or Mojo to get those numbers. That makes sense?
I don't know.
Can you hear me? Hello?
I think her reception went out because it
Mine?
stopped on my end also.
Am I
Okay.
back? Did I make it back? Hello?
Welcome back.
Okay, where did you stop hearing that?
I stopped hearing it when you were giving like Mojo, Circle Prospecting, and that it would be hard to get the leads phone numbers for the expired.
Okay, yeah. So I do recommend Vulcan 7, Red X, or Mojo. Those have really good phone numbers, and they all have dialers built in. But when you ask the title company for the numbers, take a listing. And in order, I like to do Circle Prospecting because you have a topic that you're going to talk about. When you actually call, you say, hey, have you heard about this listing down the street? Or plan an open house at that listing, and then call and invite people to the open house. You have a conversation to start with them that's more than just trying to get them to sell their home. So I do recommend doing Circle Prospecting for open houses.
Okay, I like that. Thank you so much. I love coming to your classes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Steph, I saw something in the chat. Might need help with getting my previous clients put their listing back up. They were annoyed it was up for 2 months. They also turned away more than half the people. Okay, so when you go to get these, so basically Steph's problem is she had a seller that listed right when I think the rates hit really high and people just stopped buying. I think it was last July. I know I had no sales in July and I was freaking out. I was like, what the heck? This doesn't usually happen till November, no sale November. But it was a really bad time, and her sellers got very scared, and they were like, why am I getting no showings? Why am I getting no offers and all that kind of stuff? So they were very annoyed, and they ended up taking their home off the market, and they do have a large tax bill that they need to pay. That is their pain point. So Steph, sell to that pain point. Be like, hey, I know we're in another tax season now. I would hate to, not be able to help you get that tax bill taken down and not be able to help you before it builds up more. Let's take another look at getting your home back on the market so we can solve that problem for you. Okay, so sell to that problem, sell to that pain point. You got to manage their expectations. Again, this is where we get happy clients, is when we manage their expectations. We can tell them, how many showings are we going to expect to get to per week? 1 to 2. 1 to 2 in a bad market, okay? And if we don't get those 1 to 2 showings per week, then we need to adjust the price because we can't even get people in the door. So when you have a home that's maybe priced improperly, you won't get any showings. Maybe it's a little overpriced and you get some showings, but you're not getting any offers. At least you're getting people in the door, okay? So pricing from the get-go, managing clients' expectations from the get-go. you can go to them and say, hey, if they're being very stubborn on price, you can go to them and say, hey, okay, we're gonna try, if I cannot get them down, I say, let's try it at your price. So I have a seller in Red Rock, wants to price their home at 1.645 million, and that was mid-pandemic pricing. Okay, they can only sell for 1.2 maximum right now, and you know, they're being very stubborn. They are losing about 100,000 in equity a month for about 6 months, and you know, I'm gonna go to them and say, hey, okay, let's list at your price, but if we don't get 1 to 2 showings every week for the first 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to cut the price to X. And I'm going to put that in the listing agreement, because it's already set in stone between me and the seller. Hey, we're going to lower the price in this increment at this date, because we're not going to get the showings that we need to get in order to get this sold. And obviously in a higher price listing, I'm going to spend a lot more on marketing. I don't want to take an overpriced listing and just let it sit and then have the seller be unhappy with me. So managing those expectations from the get-go with your seller is going to really, really help you guys both and make the transaction super smooth. So I think that that's what you should do, Steph. All right, Jessica, what are you doing today to move the needle?
Today, I'm going to continue reaching out to realtors through social media. I've been posting more, trying to stay on top of my 8 stories a day. I just texted my client. I asked to I asked to host an open house next week for them, because I was gonna ask them for lunch, but I forgot I'm fasting. And right now I'm on the 3-day juice cleanse, and I can't really eat normal until like February 31st. So I didn't want to ask her to lunch and then just, yeah. So I asked her to host an open house, and once they respond, then I'll see, like, you know, should we at least relist to, you know, refresh the listing and see what else I can get done for them and squeeze out of them. Okay. And I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do with like the cold calling, because I really don't want to prospect that neighborhood, because it seems like everything is just sitting over there. So I want to find another neighborhood that I could possibly cold call and try to get some leads. I'm just trying to figure out how to get leads today.
Okay. What kind of leads do you want? Do you want buyer or seller leads?
I wouldn't mind buyer leads. I do like buyers.
Buyer leads, you're going to be doing networking. You're going to be calling your sphere of influence. You're going to be doing open houses. So you got to get out there and meet people. That's how you get the buyer leads. And if you can, whenever you have time, I know you said you do it's a certain thing that you do to find open houses, as far as like, you know, looking at the streets and, you know, seeing which one will get more traffic. If you can help me with that, that'd be great. So I can just have that in the future for when I. Absolutely. So in the MLS, we go to the target price range that you want to be in. And then we put 3 bedrooms minimum, 2 bathrooms minimum. I like to maybe get one with a pool if you can, but I leave that off. So you want to then look at the map and see where there's like 1 or 2 turns off of a main road. And then we also want to do vacant key any. So vacant key any, 1 or 2 turns off a main road in the price point that you're looking for, that you want to sell in. Perfect. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right, Alan, what are you doing today? Are you at work too?
Yes, I'm celebrating because I made it on a Zoom call. So that's my first accomplishment.
Big accomplishment. Then, you guys got to show up to level up.
And then I got to definitely work on one of my pillars for the social media posting. So I want to start posting more consistently.
Okay. Yeah. Building that wealth of knowledge for your clients to actually refer back to and look up to you as a professional is something that you guys should all be stacking every day, every week. You know, use the list of ideas I have for you in the success binder, let me show you. Put it back up on the screen here. There is a whole wealth of ideas, social media content. Okay, you should never, ever, ever run out of ideas to be posting on your social media. Okay, so anybody's in my program has a bunch of these already. All right, who's
So
next?
do we have to be in your
Sorry.
Do we have to be in your program in order to get access to the success binder?
Yes, this is part of my mentorship program.
Okay.
And if you'd like to join, feel free to message me privately or shoot me a text. I'll put my phone number in the chat right now. Asti, what's up with you? What are you doing today to move the needle?
Hi guys, I finally made it to the Zoom too, so it's exciting. I was really sad I missed last week. Lauren, I have a prospective buyer that she's interested in a property, so I'm bugging the agent to go have a showing. Hopefully it goes through. Okay. Very excited. And then I do actually have a question for you. When we do open houses, are we allowed to bring like family member or something to sit with you, or it has to be an agent?
No, you can bring whoever you want. As long as you're in the property with them, you can't leave them in the property alone.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Lauren, I don't know what's happening. I told you I'm like in this like super excited mode right now. But yesterday I met like a random person at a playground and ended up talking to her. And then as I was talking to her, I realized like I'm actually getting much, much better at explaining the process and pretending I'm this like super experienced agent, you know. So I think my plan is for this week at least and moving forward to really, really concentrate on the small area and just call and convince people that I can do this.
Perfect. So have you watched the video that I posted the other day about the buyer consult that Lee and I did with one of our clients?
No, I haven't had a chance. Where is it?
I'll send you the link. I think it'll really help you in starting conversations with people, and this is exactly how your buyer consults should go. Okay, and what questions you should ask and how to make them feel more comfortable.
Okay, and Lauren, the content that you went over today, earlier in the meeting, would we get access to that? Is it possible, like the scripts, what to say, how to respond when you're calling these people?
Yeah, so you're gonna get an updated version of the binder when it's complete. It should be complete by the beginning or mid-February.
So it's directly from the binder?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah, I'm writing them. I'm adding like 2 to 5 pages every day. So
I see. Okay, got it. Yeah.
But it'll be great because you guys can just refer back to it whenever you need. And I want you guys, I should be hearing from you every single day with questions. If you guys are stuck on something, if you want to learn how to do something, if you get a text from a client and you don't know how to respond, send me a screenshot. I'll formulate a response and then you send it as you. That's it. I'm here to help you guys sell. I'm here to help you guys open up your mind and expand your skill sets when selling and when helping closing clients. So if you're having trouble with those conversations, please just reach out and let me know.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas? Otherwise, we're gonna wrap this up. Good to go? All right, everybody, do something today to move the needle, even if it's just a little bit, towards success and towards your goals.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.